Welcome back, everyone. Now, I want to bring in our legal panel. Then we're going to talk about Cohen, Trump, and the Trump tapes. Now, Jim Kasuris, criminal defense attorney in Manhattan, sits on the board of directors of the New York City Criminal Bar Association, frequently lecturing New York Law School, Bar Association in Queens, and New York City. And by the way, even across the pond, I wonder what they say over there. Doug Von Oist, founding partner of Carson Von Oist, that's right, focusing on corporate misconduct. He was selected by the Legal 500 as one of the most influential trial lawyers in the country. And our good friend Mayo Bartlett, an attorney at the law offices of Mayo Bartlett PLC and a former chief of the Bias Crimes Unit at the Westchester County DA's office. Now, the president, we talked about with our last guest, the host of Russia Questions, but he also sent out a tweet talking about his old friend, Mr. Cohen, or then friend, Mr. Cohen, saying, what kind of attorney would tape a client? He also wrote he's never heard of such a thing. Now, the question for the panel is, why would an attorney do this? And also, from people who've known Trump, I've heard things anecdotally on the side, that Trump, it was always thought he was recording conversations when people come in his office, and now shoe on the other foot. But talk about that. Why would an attorney ever, especially largely a House attorney here for Cohen, record stuff? Is it for leverage or out of concern?
Why would anybody record a phone call with somebody else? He wasn't House counsel. He was clean up the dirt counsel. So there's always something
Probably called himself a fixer, yeah.
There's always something a little dirty going on. And from my perspective, the only reason he would tape the conversations is to protect himself later because, you know, they were right on the line. Now, I don't know whether they crossed it or not, but...
Oh, I think we're going to find out they leapfrogged it, but yeah.
But this business was just right on the line, and here's an attorney who could easily get accused later of, you know, this was your idea, it wasn't my idea.
Now, explain the law in New York State, because different states have different rules about what is and is not permissible to record, but New York, he didn't break a law doing it.
One-party consent state. There are states that require the consent of both parties in order to tape a conversation, and it is a violation of law to do it without consent. New York is a one-party consent state. So as long as Cohen consented to his taping Trump, there's no
even as an attorney,
broken.
huh?
No.
Doug, how about the stated law for what's acceptable and the unwritten expectation between attorney-client privilege? I don't find myself defending Trump at all, often, or ever, but point being, I should expect if I'm talking to my attorney in New York, right, that's what I'm talking to him about is between he and I. And Cohen didn't know, conceivably, he was breaking the law when the phone call started. So what should my expectation be in New York State and other states like it, one consent law states, when I talk to my attorney what is and isn't privileged?
Well, the ethics rule kind of encapsulates that, where the ethics rule says that it goes by the state, and Jim just told us what the law is in the state of New York. But if you ask your lawyer, are you taping me, you have to say, the lawyer has to say, yes, I am taping you. If he doesn't say that he's taping you, you're violating an ethical rule there. I mean, listen, there are some reasons why you can imagine an in-house lawyer. If you listen to that tape, there's about 3 or 4 conversations going on. And this person is coming in and asking somebody who's very busy what they're going to do. Maybe he's taping because he doesn't seem like the brightest guy. Maybe he needs that record so he can go back later on and figure out what he's supposed to do. There are reasons why people tape other than just nefarious conduct.
And I'm not asking to name names at all, Mayo, but yeah. As a criminal defense attorney, right, there are some clients that probably give you more pause than others. Sure. Have you ever felt the temptation to say, if somebody tries to put me in a corner and ask me to do something that I'm not comfortable in doing and it ever comes out later, I want to be able to immunize myself here that not only did I not do it, but it was this guy's idea and his idea alone to try and get us to not even navigate on one side or the other, but go completely over the line as to what's legal and not.
Well, if I have clients like that, first of all, if you can see a client like that coming, you're better off not taking that person on. And if you can see that you're going to be put in that position or where maybe they may even claim that you're involved in criminality along with the client, you're better off not having that person. You don't always have that foresight. So if you find yourself with a client that maybe has a different recollection than you do, and sometimes it's honest, it's not anything malicious, It's always good, in my estimation, to have another individual with you, whether it's a colleague, somebody else from the firm.
It also, call me cynical here, but to me, you record a conversation with somebody for one of a couple reasons if you're Cohen. One, you're used to your client being on the other side about what's legal or not. And also, if there is a question of funds or setting up a shell company, as they talked about here, right up, you want to make sure you're going to see your money later on. That he doesn't have some recollection of saying, I don't know what you're talking about, this 150 grand. You did this. That's not me. Don't come to me, Jack, here looking for some money.
Well, that may well be a big part of it because, you know, at least a rumor has been that Donald Trump has a history of not paying legal counsel. And I'm sure
by the way,
Mr. Cohen may have been aware of that.
Not paying, you know, the laundry list of people, especially in the construction business or in the development
and
business.
claiming that it's because he wasn't comfortable with the services, even though sometimes you get really great results for him and he wouldn't pay.
Timmy, it seems if you call yourself a fixer, and this is your world, and you have decades of experience with somebody as notorious or as known as this person, it gets easier and easier to get into that gray area or completely on the wrong side of this thing.
Well, you know, when you're a fixer, it's because
How is that thought of, by the way, in the legal profession when guys call themselves fixers?
I don't know anybody that calls themselves a fixer as an attorney.
Remember that
I
Michael
just don't.
Clayton character that Clooney played, right? I mean, that's where these guys were on the other side here. I know there's hierarchies in the legal profession, how guys look at each other and how people talk, but when somebody's considered a fixer here, they're not thought of, I think, with great refute.
I mean, you have your go-to guy or your go-to lawyer, your go-to lady, that this is, you know, the person that I trust. You know, from what little I know about Michael Cohen, there was this ego and admiration thing. And, you know, young lawyers, he was young when he started, you know, they suffer from that. You know, it's you're representing a celebrity or you're representing somebody important and your ego kind of gets there, and then that gets fed by the person trusting you to fix things and so on and so forth. I mean, the only
And I should say,
services...
you're an anomaly because I know you know far more than I do, but some of the folks that are involved in criminal organization trials, we saw it with a few, notably, you know,
Right.
that they take on the persona of their client.
Absolutely.
Right? And they want to live the life to a certain degree, and what comes along with the romanticism, albeit misplaced, that's part of it too. And it sort of seems the same way with Cohen.
Especially if the cameras are rolling. I mean, it's you really, and we all teach the young lawyers, you know, you really need to separate yourself from that. You're a lawyer, you're not the client. Don't become like the client.
Okay, when we come back, a quick break from the law, and then we're going to come back with a couple really interesting issues I want to see these guys weighing in on. I'm going to be joined by ABC News political director Rick Klein. It was a busy day in D.C. Secretary of State answering tough questions on Capitol Hill, immigration, tariffs. Klein and I will lock into that and more after this.